Hello, everyone. My name is Lori Howard. I'm CASA's Program Specialist Coordinator. I'm here to present to you today how to complete the IELCE report for 2021-22. I'm excited to have you here with me today. This webinar will be recorded and will be posted on the IELTS Civics support channel, as well as the Civic Participation in IELCE webpage. So we're going to start today with goals and objectives. By the end of this session, you will be able to complete the 2021-22 IELCE report effectively, because I'm going to go in very much detail about how to complete each section. I hope it's not too much detail for you, but I wanted to really sort of get down to the finer points so that you would be well aware of what you need to do. I will be offering at the IELTS Civics meeting on March 30th, a time for you to ask questions. You can always call your program specialist or contact your program specialist or contact me, lbhoward@casas.org, and I will try to answer your questions, okay? So just to review, the purpose of the report is to report the implementation of IELCE programs from July 1, 2021 to June 30th, 2022. So you are reporting that information, what has happened from July 1 until now, or until April 30th, and what is going to happen through June 30th. So if you haven't yet started a program, you will still report it. And then I would suggest in the comments that you say, you know, this is what will happen in, you know, to the end of the year. So you want to include implementation from April 30th to June 30th. And I say April 30th because that's the deadline for the report. So anything that's happening or will happen after you complete the report, you still put it in through June 30th. Okay, and then you will also report the planning of any new programs, but it's a much shortened form. And this is optional. If you're not planning to do anything new next year, you don't have to fill out that part of the report. But if you are planning to do something new for 2022-23, then you need to include that here in the report. So we want the report to reflect exactly what you are doing now and what you plan to do in the future. So just to say, the report this year is the same as the report for last year, exactly the same. And then I just want to remind you, as I did last year, that you need to use Chrome. So Chrome needs to be your platform that you use when you enter the report. The report is not available yet, but it will definitely be available by April 1st, hopefully before then. But I suggest that after we work with you today, that you look at the summary of the content, or you can see this webinar and work on a Word document or a Google document, start gathering the information. And then when the electronic form is available to you, then you transfer that information. In terms of who should complete the report, administrator, ESL coordinator, lead teacher, with the collaboration of who's ever teaching the classes, ESL, CTE, and support services staff, so that you are presenting a full picture of the workforce training programs and IELCE support programs that you are doing for your students. So this is the access of the report. It is different from last year. It is on the CASAS webpage. So you'll find it at casas.org. on the CA EL Civics page or the Civic Participation IELCE pages. When you get to California EL Civics, you'll see over here on the left-hand side, the California Integrated English Literacy and Civics Education Report. You click on that, and when you click on that, oh, sorry, I went too far. When you click on that, you get to this page, and it is the Integrated English Literacy and Civics Education Report summary of content. So you can see all the things you are asked to do. And from this, if you're not looking at the slides today, from this summary, you can start working on your Google Doc, Word doc, where you're gathering your information that you're going to use on the report. And then When it's available, then you will click on this button, Integrated English Literacy and Civics Education Reports, which is at the bottom of this summary page. And then you will see Enter 2021-22 IELCE report. And that's where you will find the blank electronic form that you will be filling in. Now, it's not available yet, as I mentioned, but as soon as it's available, your program specialist will be sending you a notice. I will be sending you a notice if you're part of the IELTS Civics Network. It will be announced, I'm sure. I hope maybe a letter from CDE, I'm not sure exactly, but you will know as soon as it's available to you. So this is page 1 of the report. Page 1 are the assurances, okay? And all that means is that the person who's filling out the report is promising that they are, that your agency, I should say, is fulfilling the requirements of the WIOA Title II IELTS Civics IELCE grant. So you're promising that, and you are giving your name, title, and signing it, etc., with the date. So that's, you have to read over those assurances. I would show them, if you're not the administrator, I would show those assurances to your administrator and make sure they know that this is what you are signing as a representative of your agency. Okay, so that's the easy part. Now we get to the other part. Okay, so this is part 1, IELCE implementation for 21-22. And the first section is called Integration of the IET Components. The instructions: enter training programs using the form below. And click add if you want to do more. So you are going to report all of the training programs, or we've called them in the past career pathways, all of the career pathways training programs that you are offering your English learners. Okay, remember, this is for English learners only. So those are the programs that you are describing here. For each program, you must enter this information: the industry sector, the career pathway, the training program, the credential type, the specific certification, and the teaching model. So industry sector, building and construction. This is a drop-down menu, and you get to choose. So these are some of the ones you might choose. You should know which one your program falls under. Okay, if it's home health care aid, it's going to be the health science and medical technology. If it's welding, it's going to be building and construction trades. Okay, the next one is career pathway. This you get to choose. So you decide the name of your career pathway. It could be the name of your training program as well, but it might be more general. So in this case, you see at the top, health careers. So under health careers, you could have a number of training programs. You could have pharmacy tech, you could have dental assisting, you could have home health care aid. Those would all be perhaps in the career pathway of health careers. So you might be using that, one of these career pathways, for a number of training programs, okay? But for example, for auto body repair, that might be just a program in itself, and it might be the name of the career pathway as well as the training program. That's okay. So you need to make those decisions, but understand that the pathway is the larger element and the training program is a subset of that. Okay, then training program. So what is the name of your training program? What are you training your people to do? There may be a number of courses based in this training program, or it could be just one course, auto body. So pharmacy technician, community health worker training, home health care aid. It's the name of, probably the name of the job that the students are going to be getting. That's your training program. And here are some examples. Okay, the credential type is a little more complex, and I only listed a few here. This is a drop-down menu, and you need to choose from the ones that the CDE offers you, one of these programs. Or you can check other. If you check other, the CDE is going to be notified of that, and they may be contacting you to see what it is you're talking about, because they have a list of the the ones they expect to see and hope to see. And so if you're checking other, you might have to be defending that credential type. Okay, so think about that. And if you have a question, contact your CDE consultant. The next one, specific certification. So these are some of the specific certifications that I found in last year's reports. Business Information Worker Stage 1, Small Business Planning Certification. So one of the elements that's allowed is a certificate from your agency. So some of these might be just, let me go back that one slide. One of these is local agency CTE program certificate that meets CDE standards. So you can have your own certificate, but it needs to meet the CDE standards. And if you have questions about that, you should contact your CDE consultant. But so that's why, so the specific certification can be the name of your agency, Rolling Hills Small Business Planning Certificate, for example. Or it can be something that perhaps is statewide, Certified Pharmacy Technician. That's what this one is. The last thing they're asking for are the teaching models. And here's a definition of the two teaching models, as was said in these IELCE CDE slides that came out for new administrators earlier in the year. These are our definitions of co-teaching and alternate teaching. So now I want to get to the next section. So the next section, you are describing the three components, and I'm going to go over all three components in very specific detail. I hope it's not too much detail, very specific detail. And I hope you're going to get the big picture. So I'm going to go over each one specifically, and then I'm going to talk about the whole to try to make it even more clear to you. So let's see if I'm successful. So add workforce training course. These are the courses that are part of the program that you listed above. So auto body, for example, this is the course. So hood 1, fender 2, whatever the courses would be. I don't know, sorry, auto body people, I don't know about auto body very much, but these are the course titles. And for every course, you would put a separate listing. Okay, so here it says course title, use actual course name. It might be the same name as your training program, but it might be different. So for a certified nurse assistant, there's in one of the schools, there's a certified nurse assistant course, and they probably have semester 1, semester 2, semester 3 of that course, let's say, or 301, 302, 303. And then there's also healthcare essentials. That's an added course, or maybe there would be medical terminology as part of your certified nurse assistant. So for each of those courses, you would list the hours per week, the number of weeks, the total hours, and the English language learner enrollment. So once you fill in this form, it comes up like this the first time you press on it. And then if you want to add another course, let's say you put certified nurse assistant here and you want to add medical terminology, then you would go up to this little add button. That's hard for me to point to it. That little add button at the top. Okay, so here we go. So add workforce training course, you would add another one. Okay, if you had more than one course in your training program. So the course title, and then add any training courses that are part of the program. So in a pharmacy tech program, there might be medical terminology and pharmacy tech 1 as 2 different courses. So if I wanted to add a second one, I would go up here and do that. I want to mention the ELL enrollment. Make sure that in your training program, although you may be serving some native speakers or ABE or ASE students who are not English language learners, we don't want to see that number here. This number is only for your English language learner. Okay, so you might have a class of 30 people in your pharmacy tech class, and 10 of them are English language learners. Remember that it doesn't matter what their score is on the CASAS test. If they are an English language learner, they can be counted as part of your IELCE program. Okay, and we have a question. How do you notate the courses here if you have multiple sequences to receive the same certificate? Student can take class 1 and 2, 1 and 3, 2 and 3 to receive certificate A. So I'm sure you've noticed that as of last year, actually, let me see if I'm answering your question, Tishelle. as of last year, we've taken out the dates. So it used to be that the dates were here and it was very confusing for you, but it helped the reviewer, the program specialist and the CD consultant to know what you were doing. Now, what you have is a comment section. So Tichelle, I would say, and maybe Portia or Margaret chime in if you would have any other ideas, but I would say you want to describe this here. So you have one program and then you have the hours per week. And again, if you have varying hours, etc., just put the, choose one, let's say, for you, Tichelle. And then in the bottom, in the comments, say, we have 3 programs wanting. Some students take course 1 and 3, and you might even number the courses here if that's possible. Let's say course, Farm Tech 101, and you might say some people take course 101 and 103. Some people take course 102 and 104. Those courses are each 1 semester long, and they run each for 30 hours. So put the total hours for all of your students here, so we know how many students are enrolled and the total hours of all your courses, but then describe below in the comments what exactly is happening. So your aim here is to describe your program in such a way that when your reviewer reads it, they'll go, oh, I get it. I know exactly what they're doing. I have all the information I need. Approved. That's what you want. So the more information you tell us as reviewers, then the better we'll understand your program and what you're doing, and better able to approve without having to ask you questions about it.
Laura, can I make a comment?
Sure.
So among other things, these courses need to be concurrent, right? They can't be one after the other. And in an FPM, the CD consultant will look into the actual attendance data for that student to make sure that each individual student has attended the 3 parts concurrently. So when you describe that, keep in mind that they do have to be concurrent, that you should be explaining how they are concurrent, and that your attendance data should back that up.
And we might want to know if if the teacher is certified in both CTE and ESL, it's the same teacher for both classes. If it's a co-teaching model, you might say that the CTE teacher 6 hours a day and the ESL teacher teaches 2 hours of those 6 every day. Give us all the information. And yes, what Portia said about it happening concurrently and simultaneously, there is a question farther down in this report where you'll have to show how the ESL courses, the workforce preparation courses, and the training course happen concurrently, so that the student, the English language learner, could be supported in his English so that he or she could succeed in their training program and on the job. That's the purpose of this program.
Hey, Lori, Alex here, and a quick question for you. So
Okay.
on that line, let's go with like our CNA class.
Okay.
It's an 8-week course. Our CNAs go through it, and we're setting up with the IET with our ESL teacher. So when I go to create the course title, do I have to do like CNA 1 that's going to be in like August, September, and then CNA 2 that will be in October, November? Do I have to add each of those in there? And
no, if it's so, are your students, well,
it's a different set of students. They rotate, they come in, they get the CNA, and then they go out and go into jobs.
So I think you could just call it one thing, and then in the comments say students are in this course for 8 weeks or 10 weeks. We have 4 terms of this course. Students usually participate for 8 weeks. If you don't, you should use the course title that you use in your schedule of classes.
Schedule, yeah.
Exactly. You don't want to do anything separate for us. Use the real course title.
Okay. So do I add all those students, because it's asking, ELL enrollment. Let's say I have 7 students from my first course and 10 from the second cohort. Do I just add those numbers and put that in as the EL enrollment, because it's for the year that I'm
Right, it's
adding
for
it
the
all up.
year. And so the hours would be for the year and the number of weeks for the year and the
Perfect.
hours for the per week for the year, but then describe it to us at the end that each student only participates for X number of time, you know, in the comments, put that down. But yes, add it all up for those columns up here, the hours per week numbers. Yes, we want to know that you served 50 students over the year, but 7 of them were in October, November, 10 of them were December, January, etc.
Thank you.
Good question. Okay, and Margaret says, use the course title that you use in TOPS Pro, please. It should be same as in the catalog. Yes, because as Portia said, and thank you, Portia and Margaret, for participating here as program specialists, and you will be reviewers as well. As they said, your CDE consultant is going to be looking into your TE report to see how this report, IELCE report, matches up with the payment points that you've requested and for the students that you've reported and the courses you've reported. So yes, it should be exactly the same as you reported into TE. Thank you for bringing that up. Okay.
Lori, Ken had a question too,
Sure.
just before Margaret's comment.
Oh, I'm sorry. Who had it? Kim. How do we demonstrate concurrent or co-enrollment if it's one course number that is co-taught? Yeah, so down, we'll get to that. In program coordination, there is just a question number 3 that asks you about concurrent and co-enrollment. And then you should spend your time in that area discussing that. You could also put it in the comments here if you wish to, but that's the place where they ask the question. But it would be good to say here that, you know, you're also co-enrolled, maybe in a more brief way here in the comments. Again, when your reviewer reads it, do they understand? Okay, so let's move on to the middle column. I think, yes. Okay, so this is workforce preparation activity. And I want to point out that the word activity is here because this is the word that the federal government used. I suggest you think of it more as a course. What is your workforce preparation course, or in which course are these workforce preparation activities happening? You could look at it that way, because you need the course title, not an activity title. You need the course title here. That's what they're asking. So I understand that this word can be confusing, and just to remind you, it's only here because the federal government requires that word. But we are asking for the course title. So just the same as the workforce training, what is the course title of the workforce preparation activity? And probably this is where your civic objectives, your COAPs, the 243 funded civic objectives are going to be taught. They could also be taught in the literacy, but more likely taught in this area. And again, use the comments to describe exactly how this is all happening, how many hours the student is there, etc. Okay, let's move on. Again, we're going to come back to this, but hopefully you understand this is the workforce preparation part. This is the part that more typically supports the ESL student, gives them the language and literacy, the training they need to be able to participate well in the training program. And then there's also the adult literacy part. And again, they're asking for the course title. If the civic objectives are taught in the adult literacy or ESL course, they also need to be listed here. And then the same hours, number of weeks, total hours, ELL enrollment, etc. What I want to show you here is that these are the 3 components. I've made them small here so you can see. There are many ways that your program may be dealing with these 3 components. You may be doing it perfectly well, but doing it very differently from other people. So I want to show you how that could be. So in some cases, you might be teaching the workforce training, the workforce preparation, and the adult literacy or ESL all in one classroom because it's a co-teaching model. The CTE teacher is there, the ESL teacher is there. So all the skills, the training, the workforce prep, and the adult literacy is happening in one classroom. So if that is the case, then each of these columns that you filled in should say exactly the same thing. So you put the course title is the same in each of these, the hours the same in each of these, and the comments probably the same too. Or you could just say see comments in first section, so you don't have to repeat it every time. That would probably be the thing I would do. So does that make sense? If you're in a co-teaching situation, each column will be exactly the same. But other people do it this way. They have the training program, business office skills, and then they have what they're calling a workforce preparation class, or business office preparation, or VESSL for business office, or ESL for business office. And the workforce preparation and the literacy, the ESL, is happening all in one course. So in that case, there would be one name, the training name for the course here over on the left, and then these two columns would have the same name because the workforce preparation and ESL is happening in the same classroom. So how many classrooms are there in this case? 2, yay. And we're calling that alternate teaching. Okay, another way it could happen is that there were 3 different courses, and so there would be 3 different titles in each of these columns. The training program would be business office skills. There might be a VESSL for business office or business office preparation, whatever you call it in your catalog. And then there's an ESL4 class. So students who are participating in business office prep are also in the ESL4 class. So maybe they're getting other co-ops here or other regular training. So they're the student who's in school most of the day. They're doing ESL, they're doing the workforce prep specific to prepare for business office skills, and they're also taking the training. And that is also alternate teaching. Now, this question was asked at our last IELTS Civics meeting, and to say that this could happen, but we don't really suggest it, that there would be a business office training, business office skills training course, and then only an ESL course to support it. It would be correctly marked in both places that in the ESL class, they're doing workforce preparation. The concern I would have, and the reason I don't suggest this option, is because the preparation, the workforce preparation to help the person be in the business office skills house would be fairly, seemingly in my mind, quite diluted, because there would be other ESL students in the ESL4 class that are not participating in the training. So unless you were doing sort of a modular class where you had, a multi-level situation where different tables doing different things, if you're teaching to the whole class, probably the workforce preparation these students are getting is not enough to really have a single set of learning objectives to prepare for business office skills. So some of you may have done that. If you do, I need you in your comments to show how you're giving enough workforce preparation and English language skills to prepare that student for business office skills. Maybe you can do it. And as I said, if you did it in a lab or something like that. Option 2 and 4. This one and this one, which Tishel, go ahead, unmute yourself and tell me what you mean by 2 and 4.
Well, I'm just looking down the list that you have 4 possibilities there, but I guess I don't see the difference between 2 and 4, that both of them are just 2 classes.
Oh, okay.
It just sounds like semantics a little bit.
It's because
we're calling one something and then we're calling the other one something else.
Right. And the reason is just the content. I thank you for telling me what you, so this is business office preparation. And so that all the students in this one course are preparing to go into the training. So that's number 2. So you've got an ESL course, let's say VESSL for business office, and all of the students are preparing for business office. So the course could have a single set of learning objectives with the training that is very connected. And that's what we want to see. What I'm saying about number 4, as you call it, this one down here, it's an ESL class. It's, well, I don't mean to be pejorative, but any old ESL class. So many other things are happening, health, talking to the doctor, everything that's in an ESL class is there. So where is the push of instruction that prepares students for business office skills?
Okay, so it's more about the content of the class rather than the actual name, because you can have an
yes,
ESL
you could do it. I'm just saying that
about
if it's a
business
regular
office.
ESL class where there's 40 students and only 2 of them are preparing for business office skills, I would say that it's not recommended, just because how are you taking the time to prepare those students? So I'm just so this is not so much, I guess, it was asked in our other training, and that's why I brought it up here. This question is not so much about how to fill out the report as how to run your program. I wouldn't suggest that this is a good way to run your program. But if you're doing it successfully, then tell us in the comments how it's working. Okay. So now I wanted to show you some examples of this that I actually took from, if you see your course there, thank you for sharing. So here's a co-teaching course. And as you can see, for co-teaching, everything is the same. Now I might have said electrician training or something else, but if this is the course you call it in your catalog, great. So in all 3 columns, it says electrician. The hours are a little bit different because perhaps even though it's in one classroom, well, actually, yeah, so these 2 things are the same. So perhaps in this case, again, this is not my course, but perhaps in this case, the ESL teacher comes into the class this many hours. So they come in support, they're not there the whole time. And that's why there's more hours here than here. But the title is the same because they're all in one classroom. And objectives are the same, the hours per week are the same, the total weeks, everything is the same for these two parts of it. So this is where there's I described earlier, 6-hour training course, and 2 hours of it the ESL teacher is in the class supporting. Okay. Again, this is from real life, so they all are finessed in a certain way. So here's another co-teaching one. And this is the co-teaching. The co-teaching is happening here. So the ESL teacher is in the medical terminology class, okay? And they're teaching objective 71. Again, there's a little bit fewer hours here, but it's the same number of students. And then it looks like they wouldn't have to do this, I have to say. They could have put this course in here as well, but they wanted to show that some of these students are also in an ESL class, separate ESL class. I think that's what they're showing us here. And then that class, they're getting more preparation. They're doing some other objectives. Now they didn't have to do this. They could have put it all, all 3 introduction, because of course this part here is ESL too. It's the language preparing for introduction to careers, but they wanted to show that their students were also participating in an ESL class. That's okay. Okay, now we're to alternate teaching. So this is perhaps the most usual: professional business office technology, then a workforce preparation class. This looks like perhaps a general one that maybe is feeding a number of different pathways, which is fine, as long as some of the work is for the students who are in business office is related to business office. And then the students are also participating in ESL class. So they're doing 3 courses.
Mary, may I ask a question?
Sure.
Isn't the workforce preparation activities an area where we show our co-op? So that's objective 13. Is that correct? It doesn't necessarily have to be 2 separate classes, but it's a co-op used in the ESL support?
Okay, so hold on. So let me show you that in the next example. Let's see. Let me show you. I think there's an example here. Yeah. Okay. So in this one, there's a certified nurse assistant class, and then there's an ESL for certified nurses assistant. And it's in these 2 areas because it is the ESL class that supports the certified nursing assistant, and they're showing both here. And they're showing everything the same, the co-ops that they're doing. Your question is a little bit different. The reason we put objectives, in most likely the objectives for the training that would be most likely related to certified nurse assistant are listed here. but they can be in the IELTS Civics class too. So in the example I showed previously, it looks like, I think it's this one. So if you know 71 is medical related, 48 is digital literacy, and 23, I'm not sure what it is. But it could also be preparing students to participate in medical terminology. I would like to see, let's say 37 here, which is soft skills. So I could see that these soft skills would definitely be supporting these other courses. I'm not sure I answered your question. Do you want to ask me again?
No, I'm just a little more confused now because the certified nursing assistant example that you had 47 and 48, which are online
Right.
communication and
Yeah,
digital.
so I wouldn't normally have chosen those, but maybe they're thinking that they're in their program, they are valuing digital literacy as part of their course. And so that's why they're doing it. So if digital literacy is part of their CNA course, then that's why they could choose 48 and 47. I want to say that these examples may not be perfect. So don't get too hung up on this, on which co-ops they chose. I agree with you that I would have chosen 71. Let's see, go back to that one. 71 would be the more appropriate one here, probably. But for whatever reason, they think their students need digital literacy. And so they're focusing on that. And it's, and you know, these days, medical assistants need to deal communication electronically, right? And so this would be perfectly acceptable. But I would like to see a description here in the comments. We're using digital literacy because digital literacy is an important part of a CNA's, you know, work life in 2022. So just justify it if it's not something that's specifically related to medical.
Thank you.
Sure. I think, let's see, which one did I miss? I think I said that was the most common. Here's another one, which with 3 paraeducator, a bridge class for Vessel, and then a regular ESL class. And they happen to be teaching the same co-op. We looked at this one. Let's go to one more. This one also, so in-home support service with a job readiness course with an ESL class, but this is a specific ESL class, vocational ESL for home health. So in a sense, they are doing sort of double duty. This looks like a workforce preparation course too, but of course it has literacy elements, so that's fine. Again, these may not be perfect, but they were acceptable. Okay, and this one is not suggested. A number of you did this, and again, I understand why you did, but I would prefer you not do it in the future. Some of you felt because of the word activities here that you should pull out the co-op that you were teaching in this ESL class and show the hours, the 36 hours or the 30 hours here as an activity. And I understand because of the language here, you felt you needed to do that. But rather than do this, I would suggest you just put ESL beginning here and ESL beginning here and show the co-op that you're teaching. Okay, again, not completely suggested. This last, oh, what was it? Oh, the 2 ESL classes. This is an example of this. Okay. So it's not optimum, but it's possible. And rather than showing it as an activity, a separate, you know, your 30-hour course, it's not really a course. So I would suggest you just leave it where it was and tell us the course name, ESL beginning, intermediate, advanced, etc. But if you do this, we see what you did here, but we just don't prefer you do it that way. Rita, sorry, Rita. When entering the ELL enrollment numbers, do we need to reference students' CASA score to determine if they are English language learners? No, because the CASA score does not tell you whether they're an English language learner. The CASA score can be anything. I'm sorry, 180 or above, can't be a literacy student, but anything above 180, it can be. So you don't need to worry about the CASA score as long as they're an English language learner. and they could be a former ESL student, not a current one. This money is to support people whose native language is not English in succeeding in training. ELL learners who have exited the program are still eligible. Yes, you heard that correctly. I've been told directly from CDE that the 236 number is not a requirement anymore for this program. So
Lori?
let's just, yes, go ahead. Let's move ahead. Okay, now we're to the fun part, the single set of learning objectives. Okay, and we have a whole training on this, and yeah, and the training is here. I linked it for you here, and you can find it on the civic participation and IELCE page. Here is an example of a single set of learning objectives. If you recall, a single set of learning objectives are the objectives that both the ESL teacher and the CTE teacher use in their training courses, in their course. I've suggested in the past that it might be nice to separate them into subsets, technology, communication, etc. But you don't have to do that, but it is a nice thing. And as you can see in these examples, they need to be language oriented. The training course may have technical, physical courses, objectives, but the single set of learning objectives and those that the ESL teacher work with need to be language related, so that they're able to read something or describe orally. In this case, using the internet, they're reading in English, composing, sending, and responding to types of office emails. So that would be writing. Okay, using appropriate verbal and nonverbal language to communicate with colleagues and supervisors. So these would be taught in both the ESL component and the training component. They wouldn't be the only thing taught in the training component, but they would be part of the instruction. Okay, and if you have questions about the single set of learning objectives that is necessary, please go back to this training. If your objectives don't look like this now, please do this training. And whether or not you've used appropriate objectives in the past, start doing it now. Okay, start having a single set of learning objectives if you haven't already. Okay, do we have access to our report from last year that lists what we were planning on offering? Yes. So when you go to that, go to reports. I don't want to go back right now to show, but if you look at one of the first slides I showed you, it says enter the 21-22 report, and the column, the line below that says view last year's reports. Okay, so you will find it when you go to when you access the report. So if you started 10 minutes late, then you'll view it in the on the slides or as you listen again to the webinar. So now we're at the in the middle of page 2. Page 2 is very long. It has a lot of components. It's the major part of the report. So this section, workforce training providers, allows you to tell the agency name that you're collaborating with. And if you're collaborating with more than one coordinator for this program that you're reporting on, then you can add another provider here. So there could be training at your agency and training at a community college near you, for example, and you could put 2 training providers here, one from your agency and one from the agency you're collaborating with. And the CDE wants this information because they want to be able to call that person, and that person should be able to answer questions about this coordinated program that incorporates both English and training. So that's what this is about. The next section is program coordination. And there's 2 sections. One is qualitative, this first part A, and then there's a quantitative version. So we're going to look at both of them. And we suggest, to make it easy for your reviewer, that you answer the question by number. So number 1 says, describe recruitment and support of students in the ESL, in the IELCE IET program. So How do you support, how do you recruit students? How do you offer them counseling, navigation to your courses, navigation to training, navigation to jobs, all of the things you do for supporting students? Do you provide childcare? Do you offer them help in transportation? All the things you do to recruit and support students would be in this number 1. In number 2, describe the collaboration among the staff. So this grant requires collaboration, that there be collaboration in designing the program, that there be collaboration in the single set of learning objectives that all the teachers are teaching towards. Okay, and that there's continuing collaboration, there's check-in to see how the students are doing, and if the instruction is working, and what more do students need to help them in the training. So there should be continuous collaboration, and this is what number 2 should describe. And the last one we mentioned already, describe how your courses and workforce preparation and training, ESL literacy, workforce preparation, workforce training are conducted concurrently. This is perhaps one of the most important parts of the grant, concurrent training. And the reason is that the federal government decided that they didn't want English language learners to wait until after they had learned English at the end of quote unquote level 6 or the end of your ESL program and then start training. They felt that an English language learner could be more effectively served if they had concurrent training. So while they're in a training program, they're getting support to succeed in that training program. And that's why those workforce preparation activities and courses are so important, and why they need to be specific. They shouldn't just be general. They need to be specific to the single set of learning objectives and to the content of the training in order for that student to quickly access the language they need to succeed in training and get a job. That's what this money is for. So this is what we want to hear about in number 3. And I just want to let you know that some agencies take this section and copy and paste it for each of their programs. And that doesn't always show us exactly what's happening. So I would ask you to refrain from doing that, copying and pasting. Or if you do that, make sure that you adjust what you've pasted to meet the program that you're talking about. So if you're talking about business skills, if this training is about business skills, then business skills could be mentioned here. Then be sure you don't copy and paste that into the medical terminology course in the next program. Okay, so be sure that this relates specifically to this program. If it's the same as what you do for other students, that's okay, but make sure that it applies to each of the programs that you're reporting. Portia, did you want to say something else about that, or have I covered it?
No, I think you covered it. And I think 1, 2, and 3 are a little bit different in that respect. So the recruitment support may be very similar across programs. But for example, when you get to number 3, depending on the program, things might be working very differently, and you need to describe that clearly for a particular program.
And I would say number 2 is different too, because each team of teachers might work differently, and we want to know exactly how this team works in terms of their collaboration and support. And a co-teaching course is going to be very different from an alternating teaching course in terms of the number 2 as well as number 3. So yes, please be sure that what you write here applies to the program that you're reporting. Then the next section is the quantitative. Describe how your agency tracks attendance in this program within your agency. And I would guess you're going to be talking about TE. And then if you partnered with another agency, how did you track attendance? So even though you might not be reporting that into TE, you still should be tracking the attendance so that you can report it here. Then you get to the bottom of this report. Again, we're still in the same training program, and they're going to ask whether this training program is continuing or discontinuing for next year. So this is the planning for this program that you're reported on, just finished reporting on. If it's continuing, then you can report any changes for next year. You're adding a teacher, you're adding a course, or you could just write no changes, that's fine. Or if you're discontinuing it, why? You didn't have enrollment or whatever reason it is. They want to know the reasons. So you have up until now reported on what you've done from 21 through 21-22. And then here in this part of the page, you're telling what your plan is for this program for 22-23. Yeah, when you get to the end of this, then you would go back up to the top. I should have put that slide here and add another program. So let's say you did all of this that we just talked about for pharmacy tech. And if you also have an auto body course, you're going to go back to the top and hit add program and do the same exact thing or answer all the questions for auto body. And if you have a third program, maybe you have welding, you're going to go back to the top, add program, and you're going to answer all the questions for that career pathway. So you might have 3 career pathways. When you've filled in all of that for your 3 career pathways, then you go to the page 3 of the report, which is planning for new programs for next year. And remember, this is optional. If you have any programs for next year that you're doing new, then you would fill in this section. It says enter training programs using the form below. And if you have more than one program, you click add program, etc. And this year, as last year, you only have to put in the industry sector, the career pathway, the training program, the credential type, the specific certification, and then comments. And I would suggest you just describe in general the collaborations you're using, the time frame you're going to teach it, just in general, what you're planning. We're not going to hold you to this because we know it's a plan, but we just sort of want to know what you're doing for next year if there's something new. And I did add in an example from an agency. They said, we're developing an internship opportunity in our school readiness program with collaboration with a college in our area. This might not read well because I redacted it. The students who take advantage of this opportunity will be enrolled in our school's early childhood education bridge cohort and the college's work experience class. These students will get at least 180 hours of ECE work experience, which will count toward the 50 days of experience required, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so just a short description of what you're doing, what you plan to do. And there we have it. Then you get to the last page, page 4. And it says submit as complete and print a copy of report. Those are your 2 options. Before you submit, because I think once you do it, you can't print, go to print copy of your report. You don't actually have to print it. You can, I don't know if you're aware of this, but when you hit print on your computer, you can either choose to print or save to PDF. So you want to save an electronic PDF of your report. I mean, you can print it if you want to, but I would prefer that you do it electronically because you're going to be perhaps changing things in the future if needed, or you want to have it for next year so then when you do your report next year, you'll have it in front of you. So you want a copy of this, an electronic copy. And I would suggest that you post that electronic copy in some central place. So if you're not in the school next year, your successor will have it. I know some of you are looking for your report. Well, who filled it in last year, et cetera. So post it somewhere and send it to the different administrators so that everybody has a copy, because again, this is an important thing. The way you save it to, or as a PDF, you go to the print area, you print Control P in my computer. And then here I have a choice of sending it to my printer or print to PDF. That's what it says on my computer. Make a PDF. I don't know what it says on your computer, but if I hit there, then it saves it as an electronic document for me. And that's what you want to do. You can also contact your program specialist, and then you can also contact me if you have questions. So we're here to help you. We want you to be successful at this. So let me show you how to access the summary form. So if you go to the IELTS Civics page, and all the way on the left, again, you see the California Integrated English Literacy and Civics Education Report. If you click on that, you get to the report, and the report is a summary of all the information I have just talked with you about. So it's all listed here. You can start now. You can start now to gather this information using this summary or the slides I'm going to send you, and start gathering this information for all of your training programs. And then when the report is available electronically, you can transfer that information. The report will be available by April 1st, if not before. Again, your program specialist will notify you when it's available and give you the link. I will do the same for the EL Civics Network. And we are recording this, and I will send those of you in the EL Civics Network the recording. We'll post the recording on the EL Civics page along with the slides, and we'll post the recording also on the EL Civics channel. There are also resources. The page I just showed you, the Civic Participation IELCE page, is at casas.org. If you have questions and you don't remember anything else, you can email elcivics@casas.org. These are the various webinars that talk about the different information you might need, the basic requirements of the program, planning and implementing a new IET IECL program, IELCE program. If you're new to this and haven't yet done a program and you're planning on, you wanted to come because you wanted to hear more about it for a program that you might be planning to apply for in August, you could get new information here. And at these, there are a few different webinars helping ELLs move into careers that have agencies describe their programs and how they run their programs. So if you're needing more information about how to run your program, these other webinars might be helpful to you. If you scroll down. And that's about it. Okay, it's been a pleasure to be with you today for how to complete the IELCE report for 2021-22. Thank you so much for attending. Again, contact me if you have questions.